Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Adrian. I am the CEO and founder of Groundhogg, and I'm welcoming you to another session of Office Hours. It's March, second week of March. Excited to be here. Yesterday, Groundhogg 2.4 went out with a fair amount of improvements, not only to our core Groundhogg plugin, but to a number of extensions as well. And I'm going to walk you through some of the finer points and just share with you some of the stuff that we were working on. And yeah, let's just jump into it and show you all the cool stuff that's out. So this session is being recorded and it will be posted on both YouTube and Groundhogg Academy. So if you want to go and rewatch this, you are more than welcome to on those platforms. If you have a question at any point during the stream, I can invite you to go into the comments of this Facebook Live. There is a chat area, and I actually see a couple people hopping in there and telling them good morning. And Kim, welcome to the call. Thanks for joining me. And Kurt is also here from Belgium, across the pond. Welcome to the call, Kurt. If you want to pop into the chat and say hello and let me know that you're on the call, feel free to do so. And all comments and questions are welcome. There will actually be at the end of me going through all of the new stuff, there will be a dedicated Q&A section. So if you have something related to one of the new features, or if you just have a general question or you're looking for some advice, marketing, business, development, etc., you can hold your questions till that point in time, and I'd be happy to work with you on those. So let's just jump into some of the new stuff that we did. So let me pull up Groundhogg here. So let's start walking through some of the new things that are in Groundhogg 2.4. Groundhogg 2.4 was mostly about code optimization and just general back-end optimization stuff and fixes, and some preparation for 3.0 as well and getting some things ready. But we did introduce some actual features that you get to play with, and that will hopefully make your business processes easier, will make using Groundhogg more enjoyable and easier, will reduce the amount of searching for certain information that you have to do. So there are lots of goodies that you get to play with. I will start off by saying that some people or some users did experience some weird behavior because of the optimization stuff that we did, and it depends on the host that you're with. So if you are for some reason experiencing weird behavior, you can totally disable all of the optimization stuff that we did do to make your website faster by going to the miscellaneous settings in the Groundhogg area and then enabling this bypass object caching option, which is just going to pretty much put Groundhogg to where it was before 2.0. You're going to keep all of the new like UI features, but it's just going to disable all of that back-end optimization stuff. So there's that for you if you want to go and fix any weird stuff going on. Okay, so let's talk about probably the biggest thing that we did, or one of like the biggest feature requests that was implemented in 2.4, was significantly improved contact records. So let's open up our contact screen here. The number one thing was that we were getting users who were complaining that it was difficult to, or they wanted additional information in the actual columns. They couldn't add like custom fields to like the table, for example, and that was just like people were not enjoying that. They couldn't hide certain columns if they weren't using specific features. So let's talk about the actual table, the columns. So 2.4 introduced column management, which is pretty cool. So in the screen options at the top, there's this little screen options tab now. You might recognize this because it works pretty much exactly the same as the columns in like the posts table for WordPress posts and pages. So you can just come up to the screen options and it's going to show you some columns that you can disable or enable up here. So if I don't care about when the date was or the date created, I can just go ahead and disable that. You can see that it hides it from the column. I don't really care who their contact owner is. I don't care if they have a username. You can go ahead and disable those. But in addition to some of these like core columns that have been added and are now manageable from the contact screen, if you have the custom replacement, or sorry, the custom fields extension, right? So you're using our advanced custom fields, our advanced custom meta fields extension. Well, that really needs a better name. We're going to rename that at some point. But you have these custom fields that are available in the contact. So I have like a custom field here. It's a really terrible name, but it's just for demonstration purposes. And I have, let's say, this contact here. They're custom fields. I want to add some custom data to this custom field. I want to be able to see that directly within the actual table view. I want to see that immediately. I don't want to have to go into the contact record and actually see that it's there. Well, now, of course, that's possible. All the custom fields that you have, that you've created, are now automatically added to the table. And if I scroll all the way over to the right here, you can see that that custom field is now showing that information. So that's pretty cool. And if you don't want to see those custom fields, then you can just go ahead and disable it. And it's not going to show in the table anymore. So that's also pretty cool, I think. And if you have like a ton of fields, what we've done is we've actually just made this table scrollable. So you can scroll left or right using a trackpad if you're on a laptop, or using the scroll bar or shift and scroll. So you can basically just scroll this table back and forth. The two first columns, so the checkbox and the email, will stay locked so that you actually know who you're looking at any point in time. But yeah, so that's some pretty cool stuff in terms of like this contact screen. We've also enhanced the quick search up here. So we can select a save search or confirmed contacts from here. So instead of having to click on advanced search and then go to your saved searches, you can just skip that step and load the saved search immediately from the quick search bar. And a lot of people just do searching by tags. So we've also added a tag inclusion rule here to the quick search as well, in addition to that name and email, just to make searching faster, because it's a pain to go to advanced and then go. So we've just added it straight to the quick search bar. And it also cleaned up kind of like the statuses as well. So if it goes too long, if we're on a smaller screen, then it all works nicely. So that's nice. What else did we do here? I think that's pretty much what we've done here. In terms of the quick edit, we added a couple new fields to the contact record. One of those fields being the mobile phone number. So now, in addition to a primary phone number, the mobile phone number, which is kind of increasingly important and should have probably been in there a while ago, is now kind of like a dedicated field. So you can have the primary number and the mobile number. Those can be the same. You can leave one blank. So if you're using the SMS extension, which also got an update, which I'll talk about in a bit, it's going to try and look for the mobile number first and then default back to the primary number if the mobile isn't available. But that is now a dedicated field available in Groundhogg. And also, changing the opt-in status of a contact was also kind of like confusing and difficult. So we just decided that we were going to make it less confusing and difficult. And these statuses, or at least the opt-in status here, which you can't see on OBS, which is kind of sucky. But it's there. You're just going to have to trust me. But there's this drop down here, and I can change the opt-in status of any particular contact just from there. So that's cool. And I think that's really it for the quick edit. Yeah, that's pretty much everything important there. So let's go ahead and close that. Yeah, so this is the contacts table. Quick edit, optimized, custom contact columns, enhanced quick search, or at least improved quick search. So yeah, let's take a look at some questions. I see Matt's coming in from Alberta. Welcome to the call, Matt, from Alberta. Pleasure to have you. John Douglas, welcome to the call. John wants to know when 3.0 will arrive. We are working very hard on 3.0 to have a beta ready by the end of March, John. So soon, hopefully. We're working on it really, really, really hard. John's follow-up question is, can we arrange the field order? The order of the custom fields, John, is dependent on the order of which they appear in your custom fields. So basically in the order of which they're added and they're rearranged is essentially how they're ordered in the table, because basically the ones that get registered first are the ones that are added to the table first. So hopefully that answers your question, John. Let's go back to the contacts area. All right, so that's it for the actual table itself. So custom columns, better data handling, better search. Let's head into a contact record where a whole bunch of new optimizations were also made. Let's do that. All right, so the first thing that we did is we condensed the amount of default column or default tabs that were available in the contact record. So there used to be like general, segmentation, and custom meta and stuff like that. We condensed a lot of that into a single tab to conserve space, as well as there used to be a files and a notes tab. We've actually moved that, and I'll show you where we've moved that in a moment. But in the general tab is now where you're going to find all of your contact info and the contact owner, mobile phone, tags, user stuff, birthday, company information, location, etc. So all of that has been moved to the general tab to kind of like, again, conserve space. So if you have lots of custom tabs with lots of custom fields, it's not like going over and breaking the screen and just making it unmanageable. So all that's in one tab now. Another thing that we've did is we've changed the order of which the tabs appear on the screen. So so now it's the general tab, or at least it used to be that you had the general tab, the custom info tab, all of the other tabs, and then the tabs created by your custom fields through the custom field manager. Now what we've done is it goes general, the tabs created by the custom field management so that they're next to each other, because that's kind of the most important information. The most important information shouldn't be at the end. Then the kind of like the meta area, so just for that arbitrary meta stuff. And then actions, and then activity goes at the end. So now all of like the custom tabs from other plugins get added first, because that information is the most important, and then you have kind of like those other core tabs that come right at the end because they have like the least important information. So what about the files and the notes? Where did that stuff go? Well, that stuff ended up on the right-hand side of the screen here in our new what we're calling info cards section. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get my head out of the way here. So we have this new info cards bar, which is on the right-hand side of the screen. And there's a couple of controls here at the top. You can expand all, you can collapse all, because, you know, space conservation is a thing. And you can select which cards that you want to view. So I'm going to just like close these two here because those aren't necessary. And we have a few other cards here, and you can notice that when I enable one of these, it actually hides it and closes it, which is kind of cool. So let's go ahead and close that and expand all the cards. So the first card is the WordPress user. That's going to put some WordPress user details there, stuff like comments and a quick link to their actual user record and what their username is. And so we'll probably add some more stuff there over time as people request it. We added our notes here. So the notes now appear consistently on all tabs. So if I'm going through the general tab or the custom meta tab, I can actually see all the notes consistently because it's just in that card there, which is really nice. And it works exactly the same way. I could just, you know, add a note here and then click add note, and then that's going to show there. So that's cool. The files, so I can upload or continue to upload files. Just upload the logo. Just like that, which is pretty cool. So the files are now there as well. I can go ahead and I can close that. And something which has been highly requested is the ability to send emails just arbitrarily to a contact. So I can do that now too. I can send an email like, how are you making out? I can choose who it's from. I'm just going to send it from me. I can insert some replacement codes. So let's say, hey first. If I don't want to like copy and paste their first name from up here. And then this is an email. Send to Groundhogg or send to admin. And there we go. Just like that. That email has now gone out. And they're going to go get that in their inbox, which is kind of cool. that has been probably one of our most requested features to date, is this feature right here. So we're excited to finally have that in, which is pretty cool. All right. And if you actually go ahead and we click on this, on their email in the actual details card, which also got an improvement, by the way, so it's going to show their tags here now. And it's going to show their time zone here. It used to show up here, which is kind of a weird place to have it. So it's going to show their time zone or their local time right here. It's going to show their email, their current opt-in status, so you don't have to look for it. Very, very, very cool. If I go ahead and click on their email here, instead of actually opening up like the Mail.to app, it's just going to open our quick email card here, and I can do basically the same thing that I can in the info card and send anything. I can also add CC or BCC here as well. So that's pretty cool. I have a couple of questions about that. The on-the-fly emails, could we have a template there? So if you want to send from an email template, John, and actually at this point, I'm going to re-show my face. John, if you want to send from an email template that you actually already have in Groundhogg, there's a better way to do that. In the Actions tab, you can actually just select one of the email templates that you have and then click Send Email. So if you want to send a one-off email to anyone at any given time from one of your stored emails, you can just do that right from here and then click Send Email. So hopefully that answers that question, John. Matt Fraser asks, will you have the ability to choose a follow-up from a template library? Again, if you want to send from a template that you have in Groundhogg already, the best place to do is to select the template from this drop-down here and then click Send that way, instead of using this. This is going to be really useful for like salespeople who would be using that. Okay, what else can I talk about that has significantly changed in Groundhogg Core? So one of the other things that we've done is for new customers, and I guess this might be valuable for you as well if you want to check that you've actually done everything correctly, is we have this Quickstart Checklist, which we've added to the welcome screen. And it has a bunch of kind of like checklist items that you can do, that you can go and resolve, and there's links to go fix those things here. So things like configuring your cron job. So if I go ahead and click Fix on this, it's going to bring me to the area where I get to verify like my setup, and it looks like we're all good there. If I go to integrate an SMTP service, I can click Fix. And it's going to bring me to where I can go and find and actually go through the process of integrating an SMTP service, which is pretty cool. If I want to import a list of contacts, it says that you haven't imported any lists yet. So I can go ahead and fix that by going here and choosing a CSV file to upload my list of contacts. Send broadcast email to your list. So if you haven't sent a broadcast, and launch a funnel. So there's lots of these cool things, or this little onboarding thing to help people get Groundhogg configured properly and set up. So if you want to make sure that you have Groundhogg configured properly and set up, then you can go ahead and go to the Quickstart Checklist on the welcome screen. And it looks like I actually have a couple of emails that I missed in regards to, or sorry, a couple of questions that I missed in regards to the actual email function. So the first one is John would like to start with a template and then be able to edit it before setting. I got it. So yeah, that might be something that we add in the future. Currently, it's not possible with what's currently there. This is really just for kind of like those quick, like, hey, how you doing emails, or sending something specific. Currently, there's no kind of like use from template and then be able to edit it, although that's an interesting feature and is probably something that we'll add or look into in the future. And there's a follow-up question from Matt Fraser, who asks, what happens if a prospect replies to the email? If they reply, nothing happens in Groundhogg. It's just the reply is gonna be sent to the sender's email address, essentially. So if I send it from this email address, if they reply, the reply is gonna go to that email address, and I can continue the conversation from like my help support software or my inbox, whichever. So Matt, hopefully that answers your question. We do plan on having like the full conversations feature in Groundhogg by the end of the year. And starting that process in the third quarter. So that is something that we want to add, Matt. Having that full kind of like to and from experience within Groundhogg. Just not yet. Okay, where should we go next? So that is kind of like the main changes or main additions to the contact record. I want to mention that there have been an update to a number of plugins, and we'll be continuing to update our integration extensions to add info cards here for WooCommerce, easy digital downloads, and I actually list a lot of them here: Lifter LMS, BuddyBoss, LearnDash, Affiliate WP, and then some of our own extensions as well, like Really Simple Payments, the sales pipeline, signed contracts, the booking calendar, so you can see all of your appointments and all of the scheduled appointments for a contact. So all of these are going to have their own designated info cards so that you can come to the contact record and you can basically see everything that that contact has ever done, ever purchased, ever booked, ever whatever, every course they've ever taken, every lesson they've completed, and you can just get all that information right from one place. So that's really exciting. A lot of these are actually already done or in progress and just have yet to be released. So they just have to go through our QA process, and then you'll be able to have access to, I think, most of these actually. And then we've just started working on these ones. So that's fun. Let's talk about some of the extensions that recently saw a change. So if we open up our plugins, so the SMS also received an update. So let's talk about the kind of updates that are available for the SMS extension. Primarily, the first one and foremost is that the SMS will now default to trying to fetch the mobile number from the contact record and then default back to the primary number, which is kind of like the original one that Groundhogg pushed. So both of those fields will now be checked, and we'll use the mobile number as a priority or primarily. So let's just give our SMS a name here. We also added a marketing or a message type, kind of the very similar to how the email is either marketing or transactional. We've added that same message type to the SMS extension so that messages are now transactional or marketing. If you're sending through like the AWS SNS service, so the Amazon Web Services texting service, it will ask you to specify marketing and transactional. Before, we kind of just blanket stated transactional, but in order to kind of be just better and be more truthful to AWS and AWS SES, or sorry, SNS, you can now specify marketing or transactional. So if I'm going to say this is a transactional message and say, thanks for your order, and then I can insert a replacement, first name. We also improved the character count. So if I just go nuts and add way too many characters for a single message, it's going to turn red and tell me, hey, I probably shouldn't have that many characters in my email. So let's go ahead and add that. And I can go ahead and continue to update that message type. In the settings area, very similar to how for email, you can specify different email services for different kind of email. Like I want to use Mailhawk for WordPress email, and then AWS for marketing email, and then SendGrid for transactional, which you can specify different email services across the board. You can now specify different services from our available integrations for different kinds of SMS messages. So if you want to send your marketing through, let's say Twilio, but your transactional through AWS, you can have both of those installed at the same time and then select which one you actually want from the dropdown here, which I think is also pretty freaking cool. So that just gives you a whole lot of flexibility in how you want to send different kinds of SMS messages. Actually, it looks like that's pretty much, those are the big items here, actually. So just a lot of optimization in Groundhogg in that contact info screen and the contact record itself. A lot of updates to the SMS extension to enable the different transactional and marketing service types, and being able to install Twilio SMS 77 and AWS all at the same time. By the way, if you upgrade your SMS extension, along with like the Twilio service and the AWS extensions as well. All of your settings should port over nicely automatically to make sure that everything is set properly as well. So let's go and look at our questions. So I have a question from Andrew Zimble. Andrew asks, we have a new terms on our contract that says 15% deposits and then 30 days before the event, 35%, and then the remaining 50% 40 hours or 48 hours before the event. Is there a way to create a funnel that our salespeople could start that automatically send reminders from Groundhogg? I'm sure there is, so let's see how we actually might go about doing that. So let's set up a funnel here, Andrew. And we'll start from scratch here. And we will call this funnel deposit reminders. And we actually, let's go create a custom field. We'll create a new tab. We'll call it event. Call this one event date. Make it a date field. Go ahead and save that. So we now have this event field that we can work from here. Let's go back to our funnels. By the way, I see the questions popping in from Peter and Harry. Harry and Peter, I will answer your question as soon as I'm done answering Andrew's question, which shouldn't take a few minutes. All right, Andrew, so let's set up. We have our date custom field where we're storing the event date of the event. And we are going to set up a funnel to send reminders based on the date of that event. And we're going to use a special timer called the field timer to do that. So let's go ahead and let's say, we're just going to start this with the tag, say start event deposit reminders is the tag we're going to use here. And then we are going to set up a field timer, which is here. And we are going to set up based exactly on your specifications, which is a 15% before 30 days. So we need one for 30 days before the event, which I believe is this field here, right? 604. Well, actually, let's just change this to event date because that's going to make it so much nicer. Save changes, and we're just going to make sure that there's actually a contact with that information. So there we go. So we want to set it for 30 days before the event date. There's our field, which has the date in it. And then we are going to run it at, let's say, 9 a.m. And then let's go ahead and save that. And then we can send them an email, which will be their 15% deposit reminder. And then we can basically just set up additional field timers. And then we want to wait till, what is it? Sorry, I have that wrong. So 30, well, yeah, the first one's 30 days, and then the next one is 48 hours before the event date, and then you can run that again at 9 a.m. 30 days before, 40 hours before. And this is 50%. Pause it, reminder. And this would be 35% deposit reminder. And just like that, that is how that would work. Andrew, what you could do is you could start this funnel based on when a field is changed. So if I actually add this field, I can select the event date field from here. So now whenever this event date field is changed, these will actually change, or this funnel will actually restart. And that way, so if they change the event date at any point, the funnel will restart, and then they will get the appropriate reminder emails, which I think is pretty cool. So let's go ahead and just save that. And you can use this link, Andrew, to go ahead and download this template, and then you can install it on your own site. So that should make it pretty easy. You could just follow the template. You can set up the event date field using the custom meta fields. Yeah, so hopefully that helps you out. Okay, I have questions from Peter. And Peter, you are asking, I have an action that I'm trying to add that isn't working. I'm adding dummy emails to the database, but to be able to upload records without emails, but I want to make sure that they are marked unsubscribed when importing, even if the confirmed option is checked on import. I don't understand. Peter, that I'm gonna have to ask you to submit that as a support request to our support channel, and I'll look at it myself. I'm not going to be able to answer that. It's a little bit too technical for office hours, so I'm just going to ask you to share that with our tech support team. Thank you, Peter. Harry has a question. Harry is wondering if you need the action doing cron. Is that necessary? No, it is not necessary, Harry. In fact, you can just go ahead and remove that. It used to be at one point necessary for a specific way of configuring WordPress, but it's actually better to not have it now with the way that the external cron is set up. For the best solution, Harry, is to do the following. If you're confused about cron, which I understand it's like this totally like boring and weird subject, it's just kind of like one of those WordPress things that you have to do. Go to the welcome screen. Log into Groundhogg, go to the welcome screen, and here there will be an area called Configure Cron Jobs, which is the first thing on the Quickstart Checklist, which we just added in 2.4. On the right-hand side, there's a link that says Fix. Just go ahead and click on that. And it's going to walk you through this process that is brain dead simple. So all you got to do is we're going to click Get Started. It's going to ask you to install a couple of files if you have like AWS set up or anything. So it should actually undo this so that we can pretend like we're doing it from scratch. So you get here to cron setup. It's going to walk you through the setup wizard for your cron jobs. Click Get Started. It's going to ask you to install a couple files. Click Install Automatically. Install. Those are now both installed. We can click on the Next button. Then it's going to ask you to set up various different external crons for these URLs. So only these URLs. These are the proper URLs. You don't have to add any like the question mark doing cron stuff. So there's one for WordPress core, which we recommend to run every 15 minutes. There's one for Groundhogg, which should be set to every 1 minute. And the AWS one, if that's applicable, if you have AWS installed, should also be for every 1 minute. And then once you've actually gone ahead and set up all those, we can go in, we can click on Verify Setup, and we'll actually tell you if the setup that you've done, if what you've actually configured is working or not. If it's not working, it's going to show this. It's like, it looks like your cron job for WordPress core isn't working. This is what you should do to fix that. Set up a cron job for here, set up a cron job for this one, set up a cron job for this one. If I actually just like go access these URLs directly, which is what's going to happen if you go ahead and you set this up in like cronjob.org or something. And I click try again, it's actually going to show me that everything you've done is configured properly because they've actually received requests recently. So if you're confused about cron, just follow everything in this wizard exactly to the letter and don't deviate from it at all. Hopefully that answers your question, Harry, and provides you with a little bit of guidance. Okay. Matt asks, will we be adding to-do items to Groundhogs? I'm assuming you mean like tasks. Yeah, that's in our roadmap for the third quarter as well, Matt. So that is something that we do plan on implementing. Do we have a 3.0 beta we could work with on a non-production site? No, we do not. We actually don't plan on really having a beta till the end of March, John. So we do not have a production or even a pre-production ready product at this point yet. We're working really, really hard though. We actually, so what happened is we had a pretty aggressive deadline for 3.0, and I was in the process of hiring some developers to actually move the needle on that a little bit faster. And then it was recommended to me to actually, rather than hire developers, hire a UI and UX designer, which I did. And that ended up actually changing significantly the scope of work that we needed to accomplish for 3.0 and changed the direction significantly as well. So we actually had a product pretty far along and then realized that it was crap. So we pretty much scrapped it and are starting from... And with this UI UX designer, which has done a really, really, really good job, by the way, and we've done a significant amount of users testing to show that we've actually done, and he's done a really, really good job with his frameworks and designs and everything. We're now kind of like re-implementing a lot of the stuff that we were implementing for 3.0 all over again. So we're not going to have a functional beta till at least the end of March, if then. Zane says, dig in the new contact screen, much easier to view context-related info. I'm really glad you like it, Zane. That's awesome. You know, it was more of a need for me. Like, I really needed that information, especially for like Easy Digital Downloads, which is our payment software, and getting that into the contact screen. So, because as much as I love EDD, their customer search sucks. It's just straight up bad. Like, I can't search Easy Digital Downloads based on like customer lifetime value or anything like that. So that's stuff that we are making possible through the Groundhogg search, because I need it, because I want to be able to search like customers who have spent more than $1,000 with us, because that information is important. So that's the kind of things that we're opening up through using Groundhogg. John asks, do I have UAT talent in our mix? I don't know what UAT means, so I'm going to guess not. So maybe if you want to elaborate that a little bit, John. Kurt says, I want my contacts to be marketable and would like to set up a funnel that everybody in the list is getting an email and people will have a chance to opt in. How do I make sure that people who fill in a form will have the GDPR tag added? Not sure that this can be explained here, but some guidance would be great. Yeah, GDPR and Groundhogg and that stuff is like not simple. Compliance and opt-in statuses and all that stuff just isn't simple inherently. And so I wish if there's a way to make that easier, we're going to do our best to make it easier. But at the moment, I can totally understand confusion. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that. So in Groundhogg, there are a few things to keep in mind when dealing with compliance and GDPR. So on our compliance settings page, we have some stuff to talk about. So the first setting is we have a setting to only send to confirmed emails. So this is checking to see if their opt-in status is confirmed or like unconfirmed or unsubscribed or anything. So this is relevant if you need to abide by GDPR. This is relevant if you're in Canada and you have to abide by the Canadian anti-spam legislation. There is what we call an email confirmation grace period. So this is a period of days where we're basically just going to ignore the fact that their email address is not confirmed so that we can send them email confirmation requests, right? So we can send them emails to basically say, hey, confirm your email address. We can send those emails within kind of like this 14-day period, as well as any other emails. And then after that period, we're just going to say, hey, listen, you know, we tried to get in touch with you, but we're no longer going to contact you because you're past the grace period. So that's what these settings mean. And then underneath, we have some of our GDPR features. So number one is we can enable GDPR features, which enables the things like the checkboxes on forms, and the GDPR features in the preferences center. It enables the GDPR features for integrations for like WooCommerce and easy digital downloads. So that's what that does. But that's kind of like it enables and shows those features and makes them accessible to people. But it doesn't enforce them per se. So it's not the enforcement officer to say like everybody needs to abide by these rules. What this does, like don't send emails without consent, actually enforces the GDPR features that you're showing. So basically, you know, someone with only this checkbox enabled, someone can go to a form and they can leave out the consent option on the form, but they would technically still receive emails from you. Obviously, you know, that might not be the best situation. And what this does here is this will actually enforce the option. So if they don't give consent, then they're not going to receive emails, essentially, is what these two things do. So show the GDPR features, but don't enforce them. Show the GDPR features and enforce them is essentially the thing here. So how do contacts become marketable, unmarketable, yada, yada, yada? So let's say I have the most strictest set of compliance, which is all of these options enabled here, and someone opts in. In order to become marketable, they would have to, on the form, on their opt-in form, they would have to consent to GDPR. So let's go ahead and set up a form quickly, and I can show you how this works. Let's actually do this. Yeah, we can do this here. So let's set up a form. We are going to add our GDPR field. Just like that. So for someone to be able to opt in and excludes the bad CSS, that's my theme causing that, they would have to enable both of these options. Okay. So in order for someone to be marketable, as soon as they opt in with GDPR features enforced, they would need to enable both of those options. If they don't enable both of these options, they're not going to be marketable as soon as they come in. Okay. In order to remain marketable, they will have to then confirm their email address within that 14-day grace period. So once they actually go ahead and they submit that form, they're going to need to click that confirm your email link, which is in here. Right, they're going to need to click this link so that their email address becomes confirmed, and then they will remain marketable past that confirmation grace period. So those are the things that need to happen in order for someone to be marketable in Groundhogg when you have GDPR. They need to have those two consent options. If you're not using the Groundhogg form, and let's say that you have something else going on, and what I'll do is I'll just close this and I'll actually use this one here. Add new. So let's say that you are using like a form integration. So let's say we're using Ninja Forms here, right? We have name, email, message. So what you would need to do if you're using a form integration is add an additional field or an additional two checkbox fields, one for privacy policy consent, and one or so, which is basically data processing consent, and then one for marketing consent. There are two kind of like there are two GDPR conditions. There's data processing consent and marketing consent, and both have like subtle differences. So you would need to create two checkboxes, and then you would need to select data processing consent and marketing consent, which you can't see here. So I'll just select them from the field here. So you need to select data processing consent and marketing consent from the field mapping. And that is how you would ensure that everyone is like properly consented and properly marketable when using a form integration. This also extends to importing contacts. This also extends to API, so webhook listeners, and Zapier as well. So these two fields will always need to be like mapped with a positive or truthy value so that the consent is properly mapped or properly applied to the contact in Groundhogg. What else? If you're importing contacts, so let's say you're importing a list of contacts and you have previously received their explicit consent for data processing and marketing. If you have the GDPR features enabled, which I'm not sure if they're enabled on this site, so let me go do that. Yeah, they're not. So let me enable all of those features there. If you're importing a list, there are actually checkboxes at the bottom of the screen to declare that you've received consent, so you don't have to actually add it to your CSV file. These contacts have previously opted in or confirmed their email addresses. This will automatically set their status to confirmed. These contacts have previously given data processing consent, which is part 1 of GDPR, and then part 2 is given marketing consent. So all of these checked. If you import these contacts now, they will be fully marketable. And that is a little bit about, or some explanation around how contacts become marketable and how GDPR consent actually influences that. So I hope that helps, Kurt, and I hope that gives you a little bit of guidance and a little bit of clarity on how that works. All right, I'm going to go back to our questions. We are in open Q&A period. If you do have a question, feel free to drop it in the comments. I have a question from Matt who asks, are there plans to implement call tracking? No, there are not at this point in time. Maybe in the future. We have it as a pending feature request, but it's just not something that's like massively in use at the moment by our customers, or at least I don't think it is, because I haven't received a ton of requests for it, maybe only 1 or 2 over the last couple of years. So we don't currently have call tracking or plans to introduce it. The big thing on our list is implementing the conversations feature and obviously 3.0. John follow-up on his UAT talent, and which was user acceptance testing, which is create specifications, build software, QA to validate. No, we don't have a specific person on this team. I guess everyone on our team would qualify to be responsible for those things, and we're also doing a fair amount of user testing ourselves with our UI UX person. So we all share in that responsibility, but we don't have a dedicated person with those responsibilities. Kev asks, what are the best practices for when a student enrolls for a course? Is it better to tag them as enrolled, or more specific, enrolled in course name, want to set up for success? I would put it as enrolled in whatever the name of the course is. Because that way, if you want to check on which people are enrolled in specific courses, if you don't have that, then it's going to be difficult to look up those people later, right? So if you just use a general like enrolled tag, I mean, you could just apply both, right? It's not an either or world. So if you wanted to apply multiple tags when someone enrolls in a course, then you could absolutely do so. So apply one kind of like general enrolled tag so that you can search for everyone who's enrolled across the site, and then you can add a more specific tag, which is enrolled in whatever course. So you can do both, Kev. Hopefully that answers your question. Kurt says that my explanation for GDPR and marketable is crystal clear, so I'm glad that you found that helpful. We do have, Kurt, an extensive amount of documentation on GDPR and opt-in statuses and all of that. So let me pull that up for you. So if you go to our Getting Started docs, and then we have an entire section dedicated to compliance, you can read up on everything, GDPR and Castle and opt-in statuses and all of that fun stuff. And that should explain it in a fair amount of detail, Kurt. So if you do have any additional questions, that is where I would start. All right, we're getting to the top of the hour now. We are at the 56-minute mark. So this is the last call for questions. So if there are any additional questions, now is your opportunity to ask those in the chat. John asks, will we be doing a meeting dependent or focused on webhooks? We've actually already done one of those, John. Let me see if I can pull it up for you. John, if you want to go ahead and watch this office hours replay, we actually did an entire office hours last year on the webhooks feature, which hasn't changed significantly since then, so I think the information shared there will still be relevant to you. All right, I think we're going to start wrapping it up here. I don't see any sort of like new big questions in the chat. So if you need additional resources beyond the help that you were able to get or receive from this call, you do have options. You can go to academy.groundhogg.io, which is Groundhogg Academy, where we have a lot of free courses and recordings of office hours as well. If you need implementation help, we have a brand new partner to customer matching system, which is kind of cool. You can go to groundhogg/find a partner, and you can go through the process and get connected with a partner that is a specialist in the tools and plugins and strategies that you need. We have a little bit of questionnaire that you go through, and then we find the best partner for you. So that's pretty cool. If you know a colleague or a friend or another business that might be able to benefit from Groundhogg, you can sign up as an affiliate and earn 20% recurring commissions when you refer a friend, which I also think is pretty cool. If you're not following us yet, you should start. We're pretty much everywhere, and we love being part of the conversation, and we want you to be part of the conversation. So you can follow me personally on all of these social media channels. Connect with me on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter especially. And you can also follow all of our corporate channels, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, etc. So please go ahead and follow us on social media. If you have yet to leave a review, reviews really do help us grow. So you can go leave a review on our WordPress.org repository page. We have 88 5-star reviews right now, which is pretty awesome. So if you want to go and leave a review, and if we get 2 more by the end of the day, that puts us at 95-star reviews, which I think is pretty cool. So maybe you can help us get there. That would be awesome. So again, that's wordpress.org/plugins/groundhogg. If you have additional questions that we were not able to answer for you by the end of this call, don't worry, there is recourse. You can go to our Facebook group, which you're actually already in, and post. That's exactly what the Facebook group is for. Is for you to post your questions. You can message us, obviously, on live chat on groundhogg.io. You can continue to comment on the stream. You can submit a support ticket. You can email us. There's lots of ways for you to get in touch with us, and also you can reach out to us on our social channels as well. So we make ourselves pretty accessible, and we love it for you to reach out to us so we can make sure that you have the tools you need to overcome those roadblocks you're currently experiencing in your business, which is why you have invested time and money into Groundhogg in the first place. So we want to make sure that you're successful. So if there's a way that we can do that, please let us know, and we're going to do our best to make sure that happens. So I want to thank everyone for taking the last hour of your day today to spend with me. I know it's a lot asking business owners to take an hour out of their day. We're all fairly busy people, so I just want to say I'm appreciative of your time, and I hope that for you it was time well spent. The next session of Office Hours will be next week on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're looking forward to seeing all of you there. So thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.